back to the show. This is The Law Show on CL 650.
Do you swear to tell the truth and nothing but the truth so cross your heart? Do you swear to tell the truth?
And welcome back to The Law Show on CL 650. We're talking about protecting yourself from a lawsuit. Joe Murphy, QC, partner at MurphyBattista in Vancouver, and Mike Murphy join us. Now, Mike, maybe you can pick up where we left off. UMP. What is UMP for people who don't know?
UMP stands for Excess Underinsured Motorist Policy, and essentially it's coverage that will provide compensation you can access in the event that the driver or drivers that injure you don't have sufficient insurance. And I believe the minimum third-party liability insurance that you can legally purchase in British Columbia is a mere $200,000. For typical soft tissue injuries, that might be sufficient, but once you've impaired somebody's ability to work, then that number can very quickly become insufficient.
So what is the coverage with this UMP?
The basic UMP coverage that everyone gets with their ICBC policy is $1 million. Mm-hmm. And what that means is ICBC says, we will top up the insurance monies to $1 million if the driver at fault doesn't have enough coverage.
And you don't pay extra for this. This is just part of your standard policy.
That's built into the standard policy. ICBC allows you to double that coverage from $1 million to $2 million, and that covers you and your family, and it's $24 or $25 a year, so it's $2 a month. It's less than the cost of a Starbucks coffee a month. Mm-hmm. It's invaluable coverage if you need it. It costs almost nothing. I would, if someone comes in and they don't have excess UMP coverage, I say to them, why didn't you buy this?
Now, before the break, we talked about having the liability insurance separate on each vehicle. Would I only need to buy that once on one policy if I have 2 or 3 cars in the family? Because it's covering you and your family, right?
I believe the answer to that is yes, but
okay.
I'd have to check the ICBC insurance policy is a book.
Mm-hmm. Now, this covers you when you're outside the province, too. Like, for example, I'm going to Seattle next weekend and I'm taking my family.
It's even more important if you're in the States because the average American car has very, very little insurance on it. And if you're in an accident, there's a very good chance from an accident in the States that the at-fault driver doesn't have enough coverage. So that's when you really need UMP, is if you ever take your car or if your family members ever go into the U.S.
So even if I was in New York City and I stepped off the sidewalk and a car hit me, my car has nothing to do with this. I'm there. I flew there. I'm walking on the sidewalk. I walk in front of a car and get hit. So the ICBC coverage covers even when you're not driving?
Yes. It covers you as a pedestrian. It covers you as a passenger. And it covers you as a driver if the accident is caused by another driver.
Okay, now you're saying in the United States a lot of drivers don't have much third-party liability coverage. Now, we have a minimum in British Columbia. It's mandatory of $200,000 from ICBC. You can buy coverage from them or from other insurers. There must be studies or statistics on what does the average British Columbian carry?
It's about $1.4 million. And ICBC, which came into being in the early 70s, has done a fabulous job of providing a very good insurance product to BC motorists at a reasonable price. And I say reasonable, comparing it to what people pay across Canada. There are provinces that the premiums are lower, but that's because the coverage is lower. Mm-hmm. It's supposed to operate on a break-even basis, and ICBC does a great job. And ICBC has brought people's awareness about insurance up. So whereas people in Alberta may not be aware of the need to buy lots of liability insurance, people in BC do. It's rare to see a vehicle with less than $1 million, and it's common to see them at $2 million and up.
Mm-hmm.
One of the points I wanted to make with regards to UMP is a really good companion policy, is what I call it, is a third-party liability, what you would put on your vehicle. If you choose $5 million, let's say you're driving, you've got 2 young children in the back and an accident happens. What a lot of people don't realize is, in many cases, if the kids are quite badly injured and they file a lawsuit, then the defendants named in the lawsuit would be the driver and owner of the other vehicle.
So could be the parent.
But also the parent.
Right.
So when I see friends of mine with young children, and they've chosen an insurance product of maybe $1 million or $2 million, in many cases, an extra way to protect the kids, the passengers in your vehicle is to make sure you've got lots of insurance. If the driver of that vehicle is even 1% at fault, it opens up that insurance coverage in case it's needed.
So that's a protection for yourself as well.
Yep.
Yeah, Zach, there's some homeowner policies that allow people in BC to take their $2 million UMP coverage and increase that. So you can't increase it through ICBC because the $2 million is the maximum, but homeowner policies will sometimes allow you to do that. And I have a homeowner policy that allowed me to do that, bump it from $2 million to $5 million. And again, it's very, very inexpensive.
So what does this third-party liability or UMP coverage cover? Like what sorts of things why would you need $2 and $3 and $5 million?
If people are badly injured, the claims can be huge. The claims can be $5, $6, $7, $8 million because the wage loss could be huge over a lifetime, because the care costs can be huge over a lifetime. If you have two people in an accident badly hurt, then you double potentially those numbers. In Canada and in BC, the damages that flow from the death of the person are much lower than if that person had been badly injured. Our laws, which are based on the laws in England in the 1800s, it really limits the payments from a death claim. But even death claims, if you have a very high wage earner, can get into the millions of dollars.
So let's walk through this for a second. I have, say, $5 million, right, of coverage, and say the settlement is for $8 million. So they're going to get the $5 million from from my policy, and then can they get the $1 million from underinsured?
No.
So how do they make up how would they make up that difference between $5 and $8 million?
Either you pay it personally, or they just don't recover it, or they find another party who's partially responsible. But
so you're saying you're undercovered. That's undercovered
yes.
insurance.
Yes,
so
you're short.
So that's not going to top up over and above the $5 million. It's only going to make it up to $1 million.
Yeah, and in a case like that, the responsibility falls on your insurer to try and settle the claim for the $5 million.
I see.
So the insurance company's got to protect you, and I think in a situation like that, when it becomes obvious that the claim is going to exceed the $5 million, that they should offer the $5 million. But insurance companies are very reluctant to pay that money out early on.
Which means you have to go down quite a ways down the road.
And there have been cases where insurance companies have been found responsible for the excess because they could have settled early and didn't. Those are called bad faith claims, which are common in the States, but less common in Canada.
Any other ways that you can protect yourself, Mike, from a potential lawsuit around vehicles of any kind, people on your property? We've covered insurance, homeowners policies, or anything we should ask our homeowner insurance broker?
Well, I think what most people don't realize, Zach, is how broad the coverage is from a homeowner policy. So my homeowner policy covers it. So if someone comes to my house and they trip in a hole that they couldn't see, I'm liable. But it also covers if I'm up skiing in Whistler and I'm not watching where am I going and I run into another skier and hurt them, my homeowner policy covers that. It covers anything I do except work and operating a motorized vehicle. So the homeowner... So
that would go under your car insurance and, I guess, workers'
No,
comp.
wouldn't. Yeah, that's work or that. They exclude that because otherwise it would be awkward and difficult. But it covers just about everything else. So if I'm in a store and I'm not looking where I'm going and I bump into someone and they fall and they're badly hurt, my homeowner policy covers that. So the homeowner policy coverage goes well beyond the bounds of my home.
And so the question is, how much liability insurance should you carry on your home policy?
Lots. Yeah, get the maximum.
Just ask for that.
Yeah, it costs almost nothing, and it just gives you that protection. We see the people with the bad claims, and we've had a number of claims in our office, well over $5 million, so we know that the risk is real, that if someone gets badly hurt, that can happen. And if you get 2 or 3 people badly hurt, then the costs go up and up and up.
All right, so get the maximum liability insurance on your car. Ask for the UMP coverage on your home policy, maybe to extend that.
Yes.
And then get the maximum liability coverage on your home policy.
Yeah, and you've spent a little bit of money and you've got the peace of mind of knowing that you're probably protected for anything that's going to happen.
That's good, because as we touched on earlier, you guys never see the good stories. You just see the bad ones that come into your office. So, well, it's been a fascinating conversation and great to have you here as we round out the end of summer. Joe Murphy, partner at MurphyBattista. Where are you in downtown Vancouver?
We're in the Scotia Tower, which is, it used to be above Burke's. It's in the Scotia Tower, which is across the street from the Hudson Bay and above the London Drugs.
And part of the Canada line too, right?
Yes, it's right in our mall.
Mike Murphy from MurphyBattista, thank you for joining us. And your second radio show, you did well.
Thank you.
Great having you gentlemen here. That's it for The Law Show. I'm Zach Spencer. Speak to you next time on CL 650.